Okay, I wasn't even going to post this, but my group chat says you have to express it somewhere, so hey, I'll probably regret it later. There was a locked box in our garage. After her funeral, I opened it. They buried her on a Tuesday. The sky didn't care. It was blue, bright, almost inappropriately cheerful. The kind of day she would have called deceiving. She used to say, "Never trust sunshine at a funeral. It means something's still hiding." I never understood what she meant until that day. Everyone kept saying she went peacefully, that it was her time, that she had a beautiful life. I didn't correct them. Because what was I supposed to say? That she died screaming? That the last thing she said to me wasn't, "I love you. Don't open the box." I thought she meant metaphorically. You know, like life advice. Don't chase the past. Don't dig into trauma. Let ghosts sleep. But she was literal, as always. There was a box in our garage, and it was locked. She used to keep it under a stained canvas tarp, behind the broken dryer, near the shelf that smelled like oil and dead mice. It didn't look important. Old, metal, rust on the corners. But I remember the first time I touched it when I was 10. She grabbed my wrist so hard I still remember the sting. Her voice was low, controlled, but her eyes, terrified. "Don't ever touch that. That's not yours." I thought maybe it was money or something personal, but she never threw it out, never moved it, never forgot it was there, like it watched her too. When she got sick, she asked me to burn the box. That's what she said. "Don't open it. Don't read. Just burn it." But when the day came and the house was quiet, I couldn't. I told myself it was grief, that I just needed to see before I let go. But the truth? I didn't believe her, not really. She was always so secretive, so paranoid. I needed to know what was in there, because maybe it would explain why I never knew who my father was, why she flinched every time someone knocked on the door, why she slept with scissors under her pillow. The funeral ended, the guests left, the food went cold, and I found myself alone in that garage, staring at the box, like it was staring back. I hesitated. Not because I was afraid of what was inside, but because I was afraid of what it would change. There's a difference. Because once you know something, you can't unknow it. I used the small bolt cutter she kept in the red drawer, snapped the lock. The sound echoed through the garage like a gunshot. Then silence. Thick, pressing. I opened the lid and felt everything shift. Inside were documents, photos, a worn leather notebook, and a child's bracelet, purple, beaded, with the name Emily on it. I didn't know an Emily. I picked up the notebook first, her handwriting, sharp, precise. The first page was dated 1996, a full year before I was born. The entry read, "He came back today. Said he wouldn't stop. Said Emily was an accident. But I know better. He wanted me to suffer." I stopped breathing. Emily? I flipped pages, dozens of entries, each darker than the last. Descriptions of a man with a silver watch, a crooked smile, a voice she couldn't forget. She never named him. She just called him the man. And then this. She cried all night. Said her arm hurt. I told her we were leaving in the morning, but he found us before we could. The next page was blank. Then, "She's gone." And that was it. No explanation, no cause, just, "She's gone." I sat there, in the garage, staring at a life I never knew she lived. Who was Emily? Where did she go? Why didn't my mother ever tell me? And why? Why did that bracelet look like something I used to wear? I sat on the cold concrete floor, watching the light flicker overhead like it was nervous too. The notebook shook in my hands, not from cold, from knowing, because something inside me was screaming. And it had been screaming for a very, very long time. I read every page, each one a puzzle, a voice trapped in ink, telling a story I was never meant to hear. My mother had a daughter, before me, Emily. Tiny, funny, afraid of thunder. She liked grapes, hated grass touching her feet, used to sleep curled up like a cat, according to one entry. I could see her, feel her, and I hated her, not because she did anything, but because I had no idea she ever existed. I was 26, and I just found out I wasn't the first. The entries changed after Emily was gone, darker, shorter, like she didn't have the energy to write anymore. There were no details about what happened, just emptiness. Her closet is still full. I can't move it. I still hear her crying sometimes in my dreams, in the pipes. Maybe I'm losing it. Another page. I lied to the police. I said she wandered off. I said she ran away. I said I didn't know. Then there was nothing for months. Then I'm pregnant again. That was me. Me. Born into a haunted house, built on silence and secrets. She named me Claire, but in the first few pages about me, she never wrote my name. She only called me the second chance. I closed the notebook. My fingers were numb, my mind screaming without words. She lied to everyone, buried a life, started another. And I was the do-over, not a daughter, a replacement. I looked back in the box. There was a manila envelope. Inside, a birth certificate, but not mine. Emily's. She was born March 18, 1994. My mom was 19. The father field was blank, but paperclipped to it was a photo. A man, mid-30s, tall, business suit, a badge on his belt. His name was written on the back, Jason Lorne. I didn't recognize him, but the moment I saw his eyes, I knew he was the man in the notebook, the one who came back, the one who said she was an accident, the one she was running from, and he was smiling in the picture, wide, clean, harmless. But my mother's handwriting under his name said, "Monster, don't forget." There were police reports. 2. One dated 1997. Missing child. Name, Emily Lorne. Filed by Jason. Claimed she vanished after a custody dispute. But it was never followed up. No media, no search effort. Just a quiet, closed file. The second report? From my mother. Filed the same week, said the opposite. That Jason was dangerous, that she feared for her daughter's life, that she needed protection, and in red pen, a big stamp. Case closed. Insufficient evidence. I sat back, dizzy, sweat running down my spine. 2 reports, same date, conflicting truths, and neither one was ever investigated, because one of them worked for the department. I opened my laptop, searched his name. It took seconds. Jason Lorne, now retired, still living, still local, no criminal record, no controversy, a glowing legacy, 2 sons, a second wife, smiling on Facebook, holding grandkids. Emily never had a chance to grow up. I looked in the box again. There was one last thing, a small folded paper, taped closed, with my name on it. Claire. I peeled it open like it might explode. It said, "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you didn't burn the box." I exhaled, tears rising. Her handwriting was messier. I couldn't protect Emily. I thought I could do better this time. You were the reason I kept breathing. Then, if you want answers, you know where to go. Just know, they won't come easy, and they won't come clean. I stared at her words, and I understood something horrible. She wanted me to know, not right away, but someday, because grief didn't kill her, guilt did. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily's name, not just on the bracelet, but carved into the walls of everything I thought was real. The floorboards creaked differently now. The house breathed slower, like it was holding something in, like it knew I had opened the box. I kept hearing her voice, even though I'd never heard it before. The next morning, I drove. I didn't know where I was going until I pulled into the cemetery. There was no headstone, no plot with her name, just a space, a void in the earth where something should have been honored. I sat on the grass anyway. "If you're real," I whispered, "I'm sorry they buried you with silence." Then I opened my phone, typed the name again. Jason Lorne. His profile was still public, one of those old men who never figured out privacy settings. I stared at a picture of him with a little girl in his arms, his granddaughter. She had the same kind of bracelet, purple, plastic, beads. I wanted to scream. Instead, I messaged him, simple, cold, controlled. "My name is Claire. I think you knew my mother. I think we need to talk." He replied in 10 minutes. "I was wondering when you'd find me." We agreed to meet at a public cafe. My choice. I wasn't stupid. He arrived early, sat at a corner table with a paper in front of him like we were meeting for a job interview. I recognized him instantly. Older, softer, but the eyes were the same. The ones from the photo, the ones my mother called dangerous. He smiled as I approached. "Claire," he said, like we were long-lost relatives. "You look just like her." I sat without responding. He looked me over, not like a father, but like a man who thought he still had control of the room. "Why now?" he asked. I slid the notebook across the table, the one I had copied from my mother's box. He didn't touch it, just stared. "I'm not here to argue," I said. "I'm here for answers." He took a breath, leaned back, and said, "I never hurt you. Not, I didn't do it. Not, she lied. Just, I never hurt you." Which told me everything. He said my mother was troubled, said she made things up, that she hated him for leaving. But every word felt rehearsed, like he'd given this speech before, to lawyers, to women, to himself in the mirror. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "She was obsessed with keeping you hidden. Said if I ever got close, she'd disappear again. That's what she was good at. Disappearing." I clenched my jaw. "And Emily?" He paused. For a second, just a second, his face broke. Then he smiled again. There was no Emily. My hand shook under the table. "So what was the bracelet for?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stood, folded his paper, and said, "You should let the dead stay buried." And then he left. I sat there for 10 minutes, heart pounding, hands cold. I knew he was lying, but I also knew no one else would believe me. He was good at this. He'd had years to practice. The badge, the voice, the ability to erase people. But he couldn't erase the box, and he couldn't erase Emily from me now. I drove back home, parked, sat in the garage again, and this time I opened the box, not to read, but to listen. I looked for clues, photos with backgrounds, names I hadn't noticed before, a receipt tucked between pages, dry cleaning, 1997. Same month Emily disappeared. The address wasn't familiar. Not ours, not his. So I looked it up. It was a storage unit, still active, still under her name. My mother kept a place for over 2 decades and never told anyone. I drove there the next morning. It was a bland facility. Gray doors, numbers in red paint, a bored-looking teenager behind a desk. I gave him the name, the unit number. He checked, scanned my ID, and handed me a key. Unit 317. It smelled like paper and time. Dust bloomed when I opened the door, but what I saw wasn't junk. It was a shrine. Emily's clothes, her stuffed rabbit, a blanket with her name embroidered on it, photos, crayon drawings, a birthday card, candles, and in the corner, something wrapped in black fabric. I didn't want to unwrap it. My body told me not to, but my hands moved anyway. It was a box, smaller, wood, locked, but the key from the garage fit. It clicked open, and inside was a cassette tape, labeled only July 4th, 1997. I stared at it. This was it. Whatever happened. It was here. I didn't own a cassette player. Who does? I had to drive to a thrift store 2 towns over just to find one. It was old, beige plastic, dusty buttons, the kind of thing that probably played lullabies once, back when tapes meant something. I took it home, plugged it in, stared at the tape for a full hour before pressing play. It clicked, then hissed, that soft static of time passing too slowly. I held my breath. Then, a voice? My mother's, tired, sharp, young. Okay, this is for insurance. Or court? Or something? I don't know. I just want a record. I want someone to hear me if I can't talk anymore. My throat tightened. It's July 4th. He showed up again, drunk. Said he wanted to take her just for the weekend. Said he had rights. I told him no. Again? There was a pause. Breathing. Emily's in her room. She heard everything. She always hears. I think she's starting to blame herself. She sniffed. Or maybe held back a sob. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep looking over my shoulder. He said if I don't agree, he'll go to the courts. Lieutenant, say I'm unstable. The tape crackled. Then, if anything happens to me, or to her, it's him. I'm not crazy. I know how this sounds, but he's not just trying to win. He wants to break me. There was another pause. Then quieter. I'm going to pack. Leave town, just until I can figure something out. Then silence. 10 seconds. 20. And then a new sound. A man's voice. You think you can just disappear again? I froze. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't violent. It was worse. Calm. Controlled. Icy. I told you, you don't get to hide her. She's mine too. I pressed pause. My heart was racing. My body locked. That voice. I'd heard it once before, 2 days ago, at the cafe, saying, "Let the dead stay buried." That was Jason, on tape. I hit play again. I could hear her footsteps. Quick, shaky, a door creaking. Emily crying, then a loud crash, then static, then nothing. I rewound it, played it again, over and over. It never got easier. The cassette ended with the same hissing silence it began with. I stared at the player, at my reflection in the dark TV screen behind it, and I said out loud, "I believe you, Mom." Because for the first time, I knew everything, and it was worse than I imagined. I didn't call the police. What would I even say? That I had a 26-year-old tape with half a conversation and a broken woman's voice? That the man in it was now a grandfather with a clean name and clean hands? No one would touch him. Not without evidence. Not without a body. And Emily? She was still missing. Technically, officially, legally. Which means he still walks free. I wanted to burn it all. The box, the photos, the player. But I didn't. I did what my mother asked me not to do. I carried it. 2 weeks passed. I didn't sleep. Didn't talk. I just sat. With ghosts. Then, late one night, I got a message. No name, no profile picture. It said, "I saw your post." I knew her too. "I think we should talk." My blood turned to ice. I hadn't posted anything. Not about the box, not about the tape. Just one vague photo of the garage with the caption, "She left more than memories." I replied, "Who are you?" They sent a number. Said, "Call me. I can tell you about Emily." I didn't dress for confrontation. Just jeans, a jacket, neutral face. But I brought the cassette. Not the player, just the tape. I wanted to watch his eyes when he saw it. I wanted to know if guilt had a heartbeat. His house was exactly what you'd expect. Suburban, clean, a porch swing, 2 cars in the driveway, a flag by the door. America. Wholesome. Safe. I stood there for a full minute before knocking. He answered on the second. Same face, same smile. But something flickered behind his eyes when he saw me. "Claire?" Not a question. A statement. Like I was overdue. He didn't invite me in. I didn't ask. We stood on the porch, two people pretending to be calm. I held up the cassette. Didn't say a word. Just held it. He didn't flinch, didn't grab for it. He looked at it like it was a photo of someone already buried. "So," he said, "you really couldn't let it go." I smiled. Cold. Neither could she. That hit something. His face shifted. Just slightly. She was sick, Claire. Not just in her body, in her mind. That tape says otherwise. You think that's proof? I think it's enough. He laughed, not loud, but controlled. You want to ruin my life over ghosts? I stepped closer. Number. I want you to see what you did. I want you to hear her voice every night like I do. You don't know what really happened. Then tell me. Silence. The porch creaked beneath us. A wind passed that smelled like cut grass and rot. He looked me straight in the eye and said, I told her if she ran again, I'd make sure no one believed her. That's not illegal. That's smart. I froze. He continued. She made her choice. Took the girl. Vanished. You think that's my fault? She died thinking you'd come back. He shrugged. She was right. I held out the tape again. I'm giving you a chance to confess. He raised an eyebrow. To who? To me, to her, to the world. Pick one. You think anyone would listen to you? You're just a girl with a dead mom and a sob story. I smiled again. That's what you said about her. And yet, here I am. I didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't hit him. I just placed the tape on his porch railing, turned, and walked away. He didn't follow. But I know he watched me until I was gone. That night, I uploaded everything. Photos, notebook scans, audio from the tape, a full timeline, names, places, dates. I didn't accuse. I didn't narrate. I just showed. I posted it anonymously. Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. Let the world decide what they believed. It took 3 days to go viral. People called me a liar. Others called me a hero. Some just called me that girl with the box. I didn't care. Because then others started sharing too. One by one, different towns, different names, but the same patterns, the same man, number, but the same silence. I don't know what happened to Emily. I may never know. But now her name is out there, and he has to live with the fact that people finally started asking questions, not just about her, about him. I visit my mom's grave sometimes, still no stone for Emily, but I leave 2 flowers now, one for the woman who tried, and one for the girl who never got to grow up. Sometimes I still hear her crying in my dreams, not afraid, just waiting.